Welcome to this video demonstrating how to navigate around OpenClinica and how to successfully complete data entry for the NeoCLEAR trial. First, a quick explanation of what OpenClinica is, as well as an introduction to some key terminology. OpenClinica is an open source clinical trials application for electronic data capture and data management which is accessed via a web browser. Currently, the supported web browsers are Chrome, Firefox, and Internet Explorer. Before we log into OpenClinica, I will explain some key terminology used throughout the application. First of all, study. This refers to the trial, in this case NeoCLEAR. Subject. This is a participant within the study. Event or study event. This refers to a data collection point such as randomization, entry, or transfer data. This will become more apparent once we open the application. CRF, this stands for Case Report Form and is a form used to collect and contain data for a study event. And finally, discrepancy notes. These are queries or annotations for data items where a value that has been entered is not as expected. Now let's take a look at the OpenClinica application. The URL for our test OpenClinica site, which we use for the training exercises, is in your training pack, as are your login details for the training exercises. Once you have successfully logged in, you'll be taken to the home page. At the top, you'll see the name of the study, NeoCLEAR, and the centre name, in this case, Centre 110. Underneath that, we have the navigation bar. Wherever you are in OpenClinica, clicking the Home button will bring you back to the home page for the current study or site. Depending on your role within OpenClinica, your home page will be different. In the case of a data entry person or a clinical research coordinator, your home page will be the subject matrix. The next button is the subject matrix. The subject matrix is a table with event information for all subjects recruited at your site. This is where you can view, enter, and edit data for subjects and their events in the study. Each row represents a subject. The first column contains the study subject ID, also known as the study number. All of the subsequent columns contain the study events for the data collection points in the study. As you can see here, the study events are randomization, entry, first and second LP procedures, parental STAI, transfer discharge, outcomes, withdrawal, and SAE. The next button on the navigation bar is the Add Subject button. You will not need to use this button because the subjects are automatically added via the NeoCLEAR randomization website as shown in the previous training video. Similarly, above the subject matrix is another Add New Subject button. Do not click this one either. The next button on the navigation bar is the Notes and Discrepancies button. This will display a table listing all notes and discrepancies for this centre's subjects, which is used to track and manage any data issues. We will cover notes and discrepancies in more details in the next training video. For now, we are going to concentrate on the subject matrix. At the moment, this centre only has 2 recruits, 10321 and 10336, so it's very easy to manage. But as the study progresses, we'll have more and more subjects and they will be displayed across multiple pages. You can see at the top of the subject matrix is a drop-down list which changes the number of subjects displayed on the page. This always defaults to 15, but you can change it to 25 or 50. To the left of this are navigation buttons. At the moment they are greyed out because we only have one page with 2 subjects. But once there are more than 15 subjects in the study, these buttons will turn green and you'll be able to use them to skip to the next page, the last page, and also to go back. Once you have a lot of subjects in your study, you can also search for a study number by typing it into the grey box under the study subject ID and clicking the Apply Filter button in the Actions column. Click Clear Filter once you are done and you'll once again see all the subjects in the subject matrix. You'll notice the different icons displayed by the study events. These represent the different statuses for data entry in an event. There is a key on the left-hand side of the page for reference, but I'll quickly explain the most common statuses and what they mean. Firstly, the green completed icon with the white tick indicates data entry has been completed. For the randomization event, the data is automatically transferred from the randomization website when a recruit is successfully randomized into the trial. Secondly, we have the dark blue scheduled icon. This indicates the event has been scheduled and is ready for data entry. We automatically schedule some events when a subject is added because we are expecting data to be collected for these events for every subject. For example, the entry form and the first LP procedure form. Events we don't anticipate being entered for every single subject by the site will display the light blue icon. This means that the event has not yet been scheduled and must be scheduled manually by the user before entering the data. Examples of this in the NeoCLEAR study are the second LP procedure form and the withdrawal form. Finally, the orange icon with the white pencil indicates data entry has started, but it is yet to be marked as complete. So now that I've briefly explained the different data entry statuses, I'll demonstrate how to start and complete data entry for scheduled and non-scheduled study events. To start data entry for a scheduled event, click the dark blue scheduled icon and then click View Enter Data in the yellow pop-up window. This takes you to the study event screen for the selected subject, in this case the entry form for subject 10321. To get started, click on the Enter Data button in the Actions column. This will open up the CRF. CRFs are divided into multiple sections. You can see the title of the section in the grey bar above the Save and Exit buttons. In the NeoCLEAR entry form, we have two sections, Entry and Baseline Assessment, as well as a Notes section. So let's start entering data for Section A, Entry. This section is designed to mimic the randomization website as much as possible and ask the user to confirm the data entered at randomization. A quick note about dates in OpenClinica. The format for dates is to the right of any date fields. It's the numeric day number, followed by the first three letters of the month, followed by the year. You may notice while I'm entering this data, the little blue question marks next to some questions. These are tooltips. If you hover over them, you'll see some further information which will be helpful in answering the question. Several questions are also hidden from the user. So for example, in this case B3, it's only when I answer yes to the question that the user will see some further questions which should be completed. As you can see, I've now filled in all of the questions to this section. Once you're happy with your answers to a particular section, press Save. If there are no problems with the data entered, i.e. all expected questions have been completed with valid answers, then you'll be taken to the next section. In this case, it's the baseline assessment section. You may also be wondering what the little blue flags are next to each question. These are linked to discrepancy notes. I'll explain more about those later. So I'm now going to fill in the one question on the baseline assessment section. And again, I'll just click Save. Once you've entered all the data and reach the final tab, you'll see a notes section where you can enter any relevant information not reported in the previous tabs. But most importantly, there is a Mark CRF Complete checkbox. A pop-up will appear. Click OK if you're happy with the data entered, and then click Save. You'll be taken back to the study event page for the subject, where you'll notice that the status now shows the green completed icon, indicating that the data entry has been completed for this event. You'll also see the username of the person who completed data entry in the initial data entry column, and not applicable in the double data entry column, because this form is only being single entered, as is the case for all the forms in the NeoCLEAR study. If you click the subject matrix in the navigation bar, you'll now see that this event is marked as completed. I'm now going to enter data for the first LP procedure form. As before, click the blue scheduled icon and then View Enter Data, and then on the next page, click the Enter Data button. The first section is the practitioner's details. I'm going to complete this and then click Save. In the following infant section, I'm going to enter the data as before, but this time I'm going to raise some discrepancy notes so you can see what happens when some data is missing or when some data is invalid. So when I click save on this section, you can now see there are 2 red messages at the top, and also 2 questions have got exclamation marks next to them. In this case, I haven't entered a value for the question, what was the date the IVH was last seen on a scan? And I've also indicated for B4 that none of the answers below are correct. However, I've also ticked line infection, so this has been raised as this is incompatible. I've now got the opportunity to correct this data before clicking save again if I feel like I've made any mistakes. In the case of B4, I've clearly just misticked one of the options, so I'm going to go ahead and change that. In the case of the IVH question, let's say I don't know the data, I can just leave this blank, click save, and it will take me to the next section. If I now go back to the infant section, you can see there is now a red flag next to this question, which means a discrepancy note has been generated, which will need to be resolved at a later time. I'm going to whiz through the rest of the sections in this form. Small note, you can see on C3 there is a table beneath the question, how many attempts were there in this procedure? I'm only going to indicate there was 1 in this example, but if there were more than 1, you would click the add button in the table, and then you would add data for any subsequent LP attempts in the procedure. Again, I'm at the final section now, so I'll click the Mark CRF Complete button, click OK, click Save, and I'll go back to the subject matrix, and now you can also see that this form is also marked as complete. Now we'll look at entering data for an unscheduled event, for example, the second lumbar puncture procedure form. Obviously, not every baby will have a second lumbar puncture, and therefore this event needs to be scheduled in if the baby is going to have a second lumbar puncture. To schedule the event, I should click the blue icon under the second LP form, and I can now see schedule where I used to see view enter data. Click this and you'll be able to schedule the study event for this subject. You then simply need to click the proceed to enter data button, and then you'll be on this familiar study event page for the subject. Now the event is scheduled, I can continue as before and click the enter data icon. Again, I'll just skip through all of this data entry as the second LP form is very similar to the first LP form, just with a few questions removed. The final type of form to look at is the Parental Stifle form. For this form, we're going to be transcribing the data from a paper CRF. So the only important thing to note here is that one should enter the data exactly as it appears on the source document, but there is nothing in the OpenClinica eCRF that's different from any other eCRF. I'm not going to complete the remainder of the forms as part of this demo, however you should complete them as part of the training exercises. That concludes the OpenClinica navigation and data entry section of the training for the NeoCLEAR trial.